Welcome everybody to the Serpent Tarot for another pick a card reading. So today we're going into the realm of dreams, always a very interesting realm to go into in terms of the symbolic language, the way spirit talks to us, the way our higher self or even our subconscious talks to us in dreams. So we're going to be exploring what the dream world is bringing you at the moment, what it's telling you, what its gifts are, also what warnings or other sort of challenges it might be sort of pointing out to you so that you're prepared. So that's the theme. I do want to talk briefly about the inspiration for this because there's a couple of things I want to kind of say. For those of you who enjoy seeing new decks that I get, that was the inspiration for this. I just purchased a beautiful tarot deck called the Dreams Within Dreams tarot deck. That's on Etsy, and the link is in the description box below for the Australian Etsy store, but once you've got the store, you'll be able to find it in your country if you're not in Australia. But the reason I wanted to point it out, beyond the fact that it was in fact the inspiration for this, you get a beautiful deck, which I'm sure can be used in any kind of reading, but when it's called Dreams Within Dreams, why would you not start your use of the deck with a reading that's actually about the dream world? The reason I want to point it out is that the creator does make a couple of points on her Etsy store. One is that what is available at the moment is the sort of limited copies that she has left from the first print run. Now, she doesn't say she's not going to do a second edition, but she also doesn't say that she is. So for those who love the look of the deck, I wanted to film this pretty quickly and get this out pretty quickly because you may want to go and get a copy. I have no affiliation at all. I have no idea. This shows you I don't have any connection beyond her graciously giving me the permission to use the deck on my YouTube channel and similar platforms. That's the only real contact I've had with her, so I don't know. But if you are interested, you might want to get your skates on, so to speak. And then the other thing about it is she makes the point that it's only via her Etsy store that you can get it. So she says she's not on Amazon or anything like that. So if you see any version of this anywhere else, it's not the real thing. So just wanted to sort of pass that on. As I say, it's a gorgeous deck. I think it's going to be a firm favourite really quickly in my collection, so you'll probably see it quite a bit. But as I say, it's also the inspiration for today, and I just wanted to point that out if you like to look at the deck. And as I say, it's completely up to you. I have no affiliation. I'm just wanting to let you know if you do. So let's get on to the selection. So what I have done here is that I'm using the dream reading cards from Rockpool Publishing to set the scene. So in that deck they have oracle cards and dream cards. I separated those out. Later in the reading we're going to use the oracle cards, but I shuffled and asked for, from the dream cards within there, an energy that might draw you to a reading. So it may be that there's something about this energy that fits with dreams you've been having, or it might be recurring dreams you kind of have, or it just might be an energy that you feel drawn to on a kind of liminal space level. So whatever works for you. There's also a couple of other oracle decks that I'm using that, again, I don't know what the cards are for those. This is the only ones that I know at this point, that will set the scene of the kind of dream world that we're talking about and the kind of energies. Then we'll use the tarot looking at this in more detail and some other oracle cards to give you more information about what the dream world's trying to tell you. So for pile number 1, we have card 13 if the numbers mean something to you. This talks about spiritual guides. So if you sort of feel that you connect with your spirit guides in the dream world and the liminal space, this might be drawing you. For pile number 2, we have card 11 and we have people. So if you have a lot of dreams that have lots of people, either people you know or people you don't know, possibly sometimes people you don't know. I personally very, very rarely dream about people that I know. I'm always dreaming about strangers. So that kind of imagery sort of fits for me, but like it may or may not for you. But if you feel drawn to that, or if you feel the messages that you want in the liminal space are about people around you, that might be a clue for pile number 2. For pile number 3, we have card 16, and this talks about possessions. So this may be, when you dream about the things in your life, things that you would like in your life. I quite often dream about being in a house that I think I've bought, so nothing like any house I've ever lived in. And certainly I know from dream interpretation that house can sometimes be a representation of yourself. So that kind of thing, if you have dreams like that, maybe that draws you. If you feel drawn to more than one reading, by all means go to more than one reading. There could be messages, signs and so forth across more than one for you. But when you know what reading or readings you want to go to, the timestamps as always are in the description box below, and I'll see you there. Welcome, Part 1, to your reading. So you came to the reading with spiritual guides. And what we have here are 2 cards from the Aboriginal Dreamtime Oracle. So stories from First Nations culture here in Australia that was very, and still is, very strongly connected to the liminal space, to the dream time, all of that kind of thing. So I felt it fitted with the energy, and also a card from the Rainbow Oracle, which is around 5D energy. And it's really interesting, actually, that this card came up with the spiritual guides, given the nature of this. So firstly, around spiritual guides, it would suggest that you are getting very strong guidance through the dream world, through what you have in dreams. If you did things like lucid dreaming, astral travel, shamanic journeying, any of those things, I think that you would be very powerfully guided. In fact, I think I know one guide in particular that may be with you, and I'll talk about that, and then there may be others. And it may be, it's very interesting with guides. I think we can have ones that see us throughout our whole life and other ones that are around at particular times. And this, regardless of where you are in your life, I think that you're about to either go through a rite of passage and maturation and transformation, or you're about to help others with this because of the nature of this. And I think it's got something to do with community, with resolving conflict, with moving forward more harmoniously, because there's a number of kind of different symbols in this that all speak to this and they all connect. So I feel like there's spirit guides around you around this. So let me tell you a bit about the stories here and then about this, and then I'll talk to you about how I think it comes together. So the Didiri card here talks about 2 First Nation mobs, as the term that they use, that were always battling and bickering with each other. And they eventually came to a conclusion that one needed to come to the higher ground with another, even though there was a certain degree of reluctance about it. And very soon after that, there was a flood. And had the mob stayed on the lower ground, they would have been devastated by that. So the act of coming together saved that. And so therefore, this sort of sense of conciliation, coming together and a common interest is the kind of energy here. So I feel that you're being guided to have a role of that in some way. Then we have men's business. Now, men's business is literally, again, a story about maturation. It tells the story of a young boy who is learning the ways of the mob, the ways of the tribe, and he gets separated when on walkabout, and he has to use the skills that he's already learned from the elders within the mob to work out how to survive, basically. And many years later on walkabout, he finds his group again, and they celebrate what he has learned, and then they put him in a role of teaching others. So something very interesting here. As I say, it doesn't have to be about men's business or women's business or anything like that, but there's something here about your role within a community or connecting other communities and taking something to a new level. And it could be as small as like just being a little bit of a mediator between friends or family, or it could be on a very big scale. But either way, there's a very strong guide around you and all guides. And then we come to the rainbow energy. So there's 2 things that are really interesting here. The card itself says the colours of the universe live within you, radiate their brilliance. So there's definitely that sense of you contain all the colours. You contain all the things. But there is actually within the First Nations culture a rainbow serpent guide. And her role, amongst other things, was to help young men through rites of passage and through coming into adulthood. So I feel you've got that guide around you. It's a rainbow serpent, very beautiful, wonderful guide that is there. I feel like, or for many of you, that's an actual literal thing. If not, you have a guide that is like that, a guide that is helping you come into your beauty, come into the beauty of what you can do and how you can connect other people. So there's something really important about this, and your dream energy is telling you about that, showing you all the colors, showing you all the things that you could do and the guidance that you have. And of course, beyond that, the sort of like the rainbow energy is about inclusivity. It's a symbol for us of inclusivity. And that's the sense about a mature approach that finds what's common rather than what's different. So I do feel that there's a really strong energy around a mission you have. Now, as I say, it doesn't have to be, huge on the world stage, though for some of you it might be, but it doesn't have to be. But there's a very strong guidance around you for this. And there you are taking either yourself, but I actually think you're taking other people with you, if that's the case, through a process of finding the commonality, the common ground, the common good, and the maturity that is required to do that. And right now in this world, the way that we're operating in this divided world, your energy is very, very precious. And I think this is why the spiritual energy here is so strong for you. So let's use the tarot. Let's ask a little bit more about the dream messages that you're getting. Then we're going to ask about what the gift is associated with this, and also what warnings or challenges there might be associated with it. Because the dream world operates on all those levels for us. It sends us messages, it gives us gifts, opportunities, hints. Sometimes it comes in puns and jokes. There's all sorts of ways that can happen. Then there's also what are the risks that you're being shown. So firstly, let's get a little bit more about this sort of rite of passage to inclusivity. That would be what I would say, this very, very divinely guided role that you have. So we have the King of Cups reversed, the High Priestess reversed, the Nine of Coins reversed. I think the reversals in this very much point to how much comes from the subconscious and the liminal space, so don't be concerned about that. Page of Cups reversed, Page of Swords upright, Seven of Swords. Okay, all right. So this is definitely saying your role is communication and negotiation in some way. Seven of Swords at its very best is the master negotiator. So it isn't necessarily a bad card, but people often think it can be around things that you can't trust. So I think there is a question here, and the guidance that you have will be about who can you trust and what communication is clear. It's also very important that you are clear about the emotional underpinning of what you're talking about or doing, because your message is clear, but the emotions are still a little bit under the surface. So it's like it's almost like you have a political vision without necessarily really working out what's the emotional trigger that could really take this forward. If you are looking at trying to bring people together in some way, or even within yourself, move from one sort of stage of life to a more mature perspective, you really do need to connect to the heart, because we can think a lot of things but not actually do them. We just like, oh yeah, I'll mouth all that off, I'll be virtuous and say all these things, but our actions don't fit it. Unless it's in our heart. If it's in our heart, it's very hard for us not to walk the talk, you know what I mean? So I think there's sort of something around this, in that you're in an environment where there may be a lot of people talking the right stuff but not necessarily doing it. But I think the fact that they're talking about it, in the end, their heart is reachable. It's just that's kind of the thing to understand at this point. It's definitely about a collective energy, not an individual energy. So in whatever this is, the various people involved may be very, very much kind of, I'm my way, like I'm doing my thing, freedom, blah, 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 without thinking about the implications on everybody else around. And maturity is kind of a thing of understanding on one level what you're free to do to follow your own path, but also what the consequences of that is for other people. And what does that mean? So there's something here about the messages coming from the dream world, and the guidance, a very strong guidance, is to help you understand how to get to the heart center of others. Because with the High Priestess reversed, it's almost as though, there is certainly the possibility of bringing a lot up to the surface. The High Priestess, when it's reversed, can be things becoming very clear when they've been mysterious. And it may be that this is also a process for you in the dream symbolism and so forth. It will become more and more clear and less mysterious. But having said that, I really feel that you're around people who have disconnected from the heart. And so they've disconnected from spirit as well. So your energy is very healing. King of Cups reversed to me is like Chiron. Now, Chiron is the wounded healer. So one of the things that's very important here is that you actually look after yourself as well, and that you go back to the wellspring of your heart as well, because you may get so caught up in whatever this is, and caught up in the arguments and caught up in the philosophy, that you You actually feel wounded in some way or misunderstood in some way. It may even be that you felt misunderstood in some way. But the King of Cups suggests that via the heart, you are going to be able to do it. And I find it really interesting that this is connecting with a story from the Dreamtime that is about the impact of water, the flooding, and how that actually was an aha moment. So I feel almost here with the King of Cups reversed and the Page of Cups reversed, it's almost as though there's something in this, you're being guided in this to really bring the emotions up to the surface, even if it's almost a little bit confronting, because once that happens, there's a realization. And that can then clear this and connect the energy. So whether this is in a love relationship, something in family, something, as I say, in the community, in a workplace, on the world stage, whatever it is, what is actually needed and what is being said here is a demonstration of the heart, demonstration of the water energy and what it is to become united as opposed to divided. So that's a really interesting sort of side of this to you. This is what this is about. So let's ask, what is the gift of these dreams for you? King of Swords, Four of Wands reversed, Six of Cups, Three of Coins reversed, Three of Cups. And what I find really interesting, you're very balanced. I find this very interesting. I feel like there's a balance here between, the emotional energy that needs to be commanded and brought into the scene, and then the intellectual energy. This feels like there's a kind of a bookend going on there about using the emotion to get to the mind. And here we've got the King of Swords, which is the mind, and we have the Three of Cups on the other side. So there's a kind of a balance here. The gift for you is that in being able to connect people and have a celebration around connecting emotionally in the heart, you actually become a thought leader. So you're around people or around a situation where the mind is dominant, and there's nothing really wrong with that, but things do need to be in balance because they can get a little bit too detached. But in doing this, the gift for you is that it actually takes you to a thought leadership role, as I say, being seen as someone who can take things through and also someone who can fix. It's like you're actually bringing something back to balance and back to homeostasis, actually. It's interesting because it looks to me like there's been some sort of a rift. And as I say, this could be in a family situation, friendships, work, could even be in a love situation where things were good actually originally, or there was the potential for harmony. But something happened. Something happened where there was a rift and where the capacity to work together had fallen apart. But you can actually bring it back to first principles. A lot of this does look like something like in a workplace or in a friendship group or in family. It could literally be in family. You could be the person who can bring things to the surface in a family where there's been kind of almost ancient rifts or whatever going on and reconnect. But certainly you start with the emotion to get to the mind, then your mind actually connects to the heart in a very positive way. So there's a kind of a balancing out. It's between heart and mind here. And yeah, you're winning the hearts and minds, actually. You're winning the hearts and minds. That's what's going on. That's the gift. So what is a warning or a wake-up call for you? What do you need to be aware of in the middle of all of this that your Dreamtime messages might be bringing you? The Seven of Wands reversed. The Six of Swords reversed. Deja vu. This is an additional card in this deck. The King of Wands reversed. Okay, so firstly, one of the reasons that you're getting such a strong and powerful guide with this and why there's such a strong indication here that you are able to do this. If you think about this story with the young boy who was lost in the bushland, out in the outback in Australia, he managed to survive. And in doing that, he became someone who's very celebrated within his group when he was returned. So there is something here. There's a warning not to underestimate yourself and not to feel that you have to deny your own creativity, your own colours, your own everything. Like there's almost a risk here, because whatever you're dealing with, there's almost a risk that the only way you feel you can solve this is to be so neutral that you actually suppress your own needs. And that's where I would point it back to this, because remember, this was two tribes. They decided to do something, even though there was some reluctance, and in the end it turned out to be the right thing to do. But both still retained their sense of self and what they wanted. And so then when there was the realization that this was a good thing, they equally could embrace it. There is a risk in this because of something about the nature where you either may feel, I can't really express myself, I have to negate that. I need to be so neutral that it, ultimately, it's the only way that I can kind of be a mediator in this or whatever it is. But you are not meant to do that. There is a risk there. And it's saying that if you do that, you'll go off course. You have a point of view here, and it's a very valid point of view, and it's a very guided point of view. Doesn't mean that everything you want has to be winner takes all at all. That would be the opposite energy. But there's almost a risk here of the opposite, where it's like, I'll give up everything just to get this to work out. And you shouldn't do that, because it's actually going to just recreate the problem in a different way. What we're looking for is balance. What we're looking for is finding the midway point. And there's a sense here that you've done this before, or you've seen it before. And so this is a reminder. It's a reminder of not repeating something. So you may have tried this before. You might have had a tendency to go, I'm going to give up any claim in this so that I can just move forward for the greater good. And if it's saying, remember if you've done that before, it didn't actually take you where you thought you were going to go. It just recreated the problem. So I think there is a thing here about maturation is about owning yourself, and everybody being able to own themselves. So something in this that's very imbalanced, and you're meant to bring the balance. Don't feel you have to fall on your own sword, so to speak, for this, because that's not the outcome that's meant to happen. You're meant to be a leader. You're meant to be a thought leader. You're meant to be someone who brings in something sustainable in whatever this situation is. And if it is like a love relationship or something, it's definitely saying don't suppress your own passion and desire to just make the other person feel okay, because that's actually coddling them in a way, and that will take you in the wrong direction. Okay, so that's interesting. So then we want to have a bit of a look at some fortune energy around what this is trying to say. So actually, no, before I do that, I want to look at some guides in the dream world beyond the spirit guide we've been talking about. So I'm just going to use my mythical creatures deck and just get a couple to see their messages for you in the dream world. So firstly, we have the Nemean lion, gratitude. See, yeah, you have the strength. This is the point. The Nemean lion could only be bested by Hercules, and then Hercules wore his sort of like golden fleece as a sign of sort of honor and so forth. This talks about be grateful for whoever comes, because each has been sent as a guide from beyond. I think it's also saying, yeah, guides are here. Guides are really big time here, and they're very powerful. So there is something very powerful about this. So do not underestimate yourself. Remember, you're supposed to heal as well. Remember, you're supposed to be able to sort of speak your truth and show your colours. And, wow, demon power. Obstacles are put in your way to see if what you want is really worth fighting for. So this does not mean, I always want to say if this card comes out, this deck is not a dark deck. This is not saying that demons are going to suddenly be around you. This is actually showing shadow energy. I think it's saying that the guides around you, and I think we've talked about them, are to show you the shadow energy, to make you understand the obstacles, because that's where you could decide, okay, I'll, rather than standing in my truth, I'll let the shadows of others rule, and I'll do it for the greater good. But you're stronger than you think. So I think there's a really strong sense here. And I think with demon coming up, this deja vu, some of this is dealing with your own demons as well, your own shadow, but you're further advanced than the people you're dealing with. You've got a guide that's further advanced again, that's going to help you go through this process, but you're meant to become a leader in this. And so you've got to face your own demons, understand your own strength, and also recognise where combat and obstacles are coming from around this situation. Okay, so let's also get you some fortune energy. So we're going to use a couple of fortune decks, Madame Endora and a Lenormand deck, just to see what's some of the fortune energy. What is this predicting for you? Because there is a predictive element to dreams. So let's see what this is predicting for you to be aware of. The dagger, conflict and danger. Yeah, there is some conflict around this. There is some conflict, but I think the conflict already exists. And I think you're strong enough. The fact that it fell here, you're strong enough. You just need to recognize it. Like, it's almost as though one of the things you have to watch out for in this, and I say whether it's a personal relationship, something in work, something political, it's almost as though there's a prevailing way that something has been portrayed or spoken about that almost puts you or others on the back foot. It's almost like there's two parties and one has sort of claimed victimhood, rightly or wrongly. I'm not getting into, I'm not going to talk about political examples, but there's something like that going on. And I think that the healing there's something that's inherently wrong about that too, or at least it's not, even if there was some victimhood, that's not the path that's going to take this forward. It's not the path that's going to heal it. But there is that. It's like, this is where you've got to deal with what could be projected on you. You just need to be aware of it. You're very guided. You're able to deal with it, but there is some conflict you're dealing with. And that was showing up, in a sense, in both of these, the conflict of being alone and the conflict of like two tribes. So then what else do we get? The key, locked doors can now be opened. So yeah, you're going to find a way, and you're the key to this. So don't underestimate yourself. I think that's the main message that the spirit guides are trying to say here to you, and your dream world is trying to say to you. So let's see with Lenormand. House. Okay, so there is something about this that is very much about safety, security, home, family. Yeah, and as I say, some of this could be in a family situation, could be around relationship, or it could be about what do you call home, what do other people call home. There's that kind of energy operating. Who gets to claim the home? And if you go back to this story, both should. It's like that's the issue. And then ring, connections, making the right connections. If any of this is around a relationship and this sort of thing, there is the real promise of that working out and coming together. So certainly there's a prize in this, so to speak, on that level. But otherwise, I think it's all just about connections, making the right connections and finding the place where everybody can feel at home with the outcome is the key thing here. Okay, so we're also going to say, as I said, we're going to return to the dream reading cards and get a card from the oracle side of that deck, and I'm also going to get a card from the psychic reading cards. In both of these cases, it's just meant to be some other signs, either in the dream world or that you might see synchronistically in the world that will help you take on board what the dream world is bringing to you. So it's really interesting. I was finding I was almost getting choked up there talking. So I don't know, there's something about communication here and what you can speak. Okay, so we've got renewal, rebirth. Examine what you resist discarding. Reassess what needs to be renewed and given a fresh start. Clean up all the things around you that are cluttering your life. So this is definitely, you are meant to rise. The phoenix rising in all of this. That's part of the promise of all of this, but you do need to examine the situation carefully and know what you want to move forward with. That's why it's like, don't redo something. I do think you've given up too much for the sake of peace or harmony in the past. So it's like also getting what you're supposed to get out of this. And in terms of signs that you might see beyond that, we also have chakras. Okay, so you could be looking at how to balance, because you're the balance. You could be looking at what are the key chakras around this, particularly around the emotion and the mind. How does that operate? Might be between the heart and maybe the third eye or the crown chakra. You may see things about chakras. You may see crystals connected with chakras. Thinking about that and doing some sort of practice around that might help you be in balance and feel centered. And again, it's this rainbow of colours. It's like all the colours. Something like that is part of this sort of fiery rebirth that you're supposed to be part of. So we're going to get some astrology energy too. I'm just going to use the astro dice. So I'm going to roll a couple of times just for some energy around planets, signs, and what house they're in, where might give us a little bit more of an idea about where this is really most likely to be activating in your life. So firstly, we have the first house. So this is who you are in the world, how you're seen in the world, in Capricorn. So it is about the powers of the world, the material things of the world, and Mercury. Yeah, it's how you talk. How you talk. You're meant to come to a position of power and be seen in a position of power in some way in this. Now, if this is in a relationship, it's not like suddenly you become the dominant one and they do everything you say. But I think that what this would be is a shift about connecting to the heart and more understanding of the importance of both. So you lead out on that, and the way you communicate has made it happen. But I think for a lot of you, there's something very material about this, being seen like it's a role that you're involved in, and your communication skills are very important. And I keep getting my throat closing up. So you are dealing with something, pile one. So let's get a second roll of the dice. This one we have Capricorn again. Yeah, I think for most of you it is about something material. And we have Mercury again. Wow. And this time the third house in communication. So this is really, really, what I find interesting is we've got Mercury, get all this sort of communication. We know that you are meant to communicate the heart and bring the heart back. And then I think it's meant to be grounded in some way. That's why we're seeing Capricorn. It's meant to be earthy. It's meant to create a new structure, a new way of being in some way. It's something very important about this, I think. Some of you are dealing with something very important in the world. Okay, so lastly, what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a card from the soul cards. If you've seen me use these cards before, there is no set interpretation to any of this. It's very dreamlike imagery. So I'm going to tell you what I get from it, but I'd suggest pausing the video before clicking out and just seeing what it says to you, because dream interpretation in the end, people can give you all sorts of ideas, just like I've been doing here, but in the end, you're the one who will know what your dreams are saying. So do take that into account. So what we've got is, oh my goodness. Wow. This is why we've got the renewal, rebirth. And this is why we've also got the deja vu. Whatever this situation is, you've either gone through it already with the same people or you've gone through it a lot. There is a real, almost coming back from death kind of renewal, rebirth energy around. There's probably something very karmic, but it's all the colours. All the colours. Like it's like the life force radiates out in colours. Something old needs to be reborn. Something that mattered a lot, something that was in the structure of everything but has somehow withered away, needs to be reborn. And I think it's around, it's like there's something about this situation where the mind has become so dominant that it's almost detached from the physical form. So the skeleton doesn't even have flesh. So there's something about bringing the emotion in, bringing in the heart again, and then the flesh. Then the kind of form. I think that's also why we've got Capricorn twice. It's like the physical form. So I feel like you are bringing something back from the brink or back to life. It has something to do with finding harmony and also of the balance of the head and the heart in particular. And the main thing that the Spirit wants you to know is you're the person to do it. You're the key. Even if there's conflict, even if it's difficult, don't give up yourself in the process of doing it. It's not necessary. And in fact, if you do, you're going to have to do it again. So this is about you learning how to use skills that you have and gifts that you have in a complex situation. But you have really strong guidance. So I do wish you the very, very best. I hope that this was helpful. Hope you enjoyed the reading. If so, please like the video and subscribe. If you care to share in the comments, I'd love to hear. Otherwise, I hope to see you in future readings. Welcome, Pile 2, to your reading. So you came to the reading with people. And as I said, I feel like if that's the card is the reason that you came, it may be that you dream quite often of people, whether you know them or not. And it may be within this, whether you know them or not is actually key. So, and I'll mention that. But the overarching sense of this, we've got a couple of stories from the Dreamtime, which is First Nations from Australia. They're very connected to the dream world and Dreamtime. So these stories, a bit like kind of parables, I guess, for want of a better term, give a bit of an essence of the kind of energy that's coming from the dream world to you. Then we also have the 5D world, your higher self, which is interesting. It talks about galactic soul. As your energy vibration expands, you remember your galactic family. So that's kind of actually, well, I might say that now, why I feel like for some of you, if you're dreaming about people you know, it might be an indication that they're part of your soul family or part of the story of your soul family, even if they're not, like people that are, other tribes or other soul families that are important and intersecting. And if you're dreaming about people you don't know, it may be that you're dreaming about people who are coming into your life that are part of your soul family. So that I think there's something around that, because there's a connection to your galactic self. But the real thing around this, I think, is around what people are the right ones to be concentrating on and in what context. And this is because of these two cards. So this card, Mother Nature's Balance, tells a story of how after long hot summers in Australia, the rains would come, replenish the earth, and there was the cycle of Mother Nature, basically. But it tells the story of 7 cycles where there was not enough rain, and it kind of like got very depleted and so forth. Eventually the rains came, and then it could come back to being in balance. So what this card is particularly drawing on, do you have your life in balance, or are you running on empty? And it in particular talks about things like, is your work-life balance okay? But whether it's work-life or whether it's, what you give to other people compared to what other people give to you with this people energy, what you're doing on a day-to-day level, whether that's feeding and nourishing your soul. There's something about balance. And that connects us then to insightful revelations, because this is talking about emus. And it says that emus, they have very long legs and they run very fast. And this is saying that originally they didn't have that. And it was very hard for them to get to any food. They felt like they were the bottom of the food chain. And so they prayed and prayed to get longer legs. And they thought, oh, it hasn't worked. But then they go to sleep, and when they wake up in the morning, they've got the long legs. And they're so excited that that's worked out that they now run really fast, and they're not lower on the food chain. So this is sort of something about understanding how one idea or one thing that you could take forward or one dream is really possible, and you can bring it in and it can get things in balance, so you don't feel like you're somehow shortchanged. So I think there's a real message coming through this about you're meant to find your family, you're meant to find your idea, you're meant to be part of a group that can move fast and quick and towards what is necessary, and you're meant to sort of have things in balance. But at the moment, either maybe your energy is with the wrong people, or it's spread too thin, or people are taking more than you're taking more from you than they're giving. So I think there's some energy around that. So we're going to have a look at it with tarot. So we're going to start with a little bit more about what the dream is expressing to you. We're going to look at what the gift is in the dream world from you, and we're also going to look at whatever warning or challenge is associated with it as well. So firstly, let's just get a little bit more information about what is the dream world trying to tell you, so that you can go forward with your ideas, connect with your people, and get things into balance, because this is what it's really all about. So you don't burn out. Like, I think there's a little bit of an indication here that you could burn out. I'm also getting, actually, for some of you, there might be something like, are you exercising your body? Are you nourishing it well? That kind of thing as well too. Or are you so focused on people and energy and everything that you're doing that you're neglecting yourself? So just felt I needed to say that. So now, what was Tarot going to tell us about the message more generally? Queen of Wands reversed. 5 of Swords. 10 of Coins. Judgment reversed. 3 of Cups reversed. The Moon reversed. Okay, all right. So we're starting right off the bat with the Queen of Wands reversed. The risk of burnout's big. This is a real call to recognition. Like, where are you putting your battles and your energy with the 5 of Swords? It's like sometimes things may be that you're trying to be all things to all people, or you're trying to sort of meet the needs and so forth of a whole bunch of other people other than yourself. And just sometimes you've got to realize the impact that's having on you, and that maybe it's better to walk away from certain things, particularly if I get the sense that you're dealing with a lack of gratitude from people, like you're putting a lot into something and there's just no real return. There might be a financial return. If this is around work, it might be getting money that's happening, or career level status or whatever, but you're burning yourself out. You're constantly battling. It could be that you're always in conflict situations for work, if that's the case. But there's a real thing here about, if you're focused on the material outcomes, are you burning yourself out and doing it? Are you in conflict when you don't need to? And are you following what your soul is telling you to do? Because with the Judgment reversed, you're possibly not. You're caught up in the battles about material things to such an extent that even being in touch with your own galactic soul and your own galactic tribe, it's very, very hard. And so it's sort of like, it feels like at the end of the day, what do you celebrate? Don't worry though, the moon reverse, this is bringing this all up to the surface. This whole thing is so that you can see it. And I find it really interesting, we've got the moon reverse and we've got the moon so clear here. There is an answer to this. And I think it's about simplifying things. And I think it's also, if you think about this story, it's about what is the one thing that would shift the balance. Because this story was, the emus were feeling like they were really low on the food chain. And they realised that just having longer legs. So there's something like that. Instead of constantly battling around this situation, there's something that would shift everything. And I think it has to do with your calling. And I think that your soul family is coming in, either in a liminal space or is literally coming into your life to make that happen. But you've got to kind of believe that it could happen. Because again, with this story here, the emus go to sleep thinking, well, that didn't work. So it's I almost feel like some of you might be, trying manifestation and things like that. And you think, oh, that hasn't worked. But it's saying it can. It's just that there's something that's meant to come up that you're not necessarily yet asking the exact right question or asking for the exact right thing. And you're feeling, in a sense, that you are hostage to either other people and what they want, or to the cycles of time or whatever. So, but it's burning you out. So there is some. It's like kind of withdraw and think about it and reconnect to what your calling is, because your calling is going to give you the longer legs. Your calling is going to bring the rain in and allow for sort of fertile growth and so forth. But it's like you've almost lost faith in that. And this is to remind you, this is calling you back to remind you, because you're meant to be the Queen of Wands upright. You're meant to be sort of shining and beautiful. And, you are, but you're not, it's kind of being burnt out with all the other issues around. So what's the gift in what this Dreamtime is telling you, this dream world is telling you? King of Wands, yeah. You're meant to be the Phoenix Rising. You're meant to come through. 9 of Coins, 4 of Wands, 7 of Wands. Wow. Page of Cups. It's all meant to surface. Every single one of those is upright. So once the moon, sort of like the moon reverse, brings things to the surface, you're meant to shine. You're meant to be, as I say, as I said, I feel really strongly, you're meant to be this sort of like, royal energy around the Wands energy. There's sort of something very vibrant about you. It's really interesting. Like it's like a red curtains behind this person. Like I feel like it's almost like being on stage. And this doesn't necessarily mean you have to be a performer, but it feels like being seen in the spotlight, shining for your creativity. And there's something, it's very individual to you and probably your soul family with the 9 of Coins. I feel like you're drawn into something where everybody else's stuff is kind of taking over what you could do. You're meant to get a kind of an independence, but you can do it without losing connection. This is saying your people are coming in if they haven't already come in. This is why you're dreaming about people. And like it's almost, there's a kind of a courage, just the courage to take it on and to follow your heart with the Page of Cups. So certainly if you're looking for love or something like that, I reckon it's coming in. I reckon there's a very significant relationship coming in. And it allows you to be independent but also together in a way that maybe you've sort of been in relationships that were very clingy and needy and so forth. But as I say, if this is about work or things like that, and this card particularly talks about work, then there's an independence that still has harmony meant to come in. You've just got to have the courage to follow your heart around it, and then you can do it. So I very much sort of feel that there's something very creative and re-inspiring, re-energizing meant. But that's the thing too, it's interesting because this is like the water comes and fertilizes the land. And there certainly is getting back in touch with your heart. But I think there's a very creative energy for you. I think there's something in your soul tribe which is very, very creative. Because even this Pentacles card has all the sort of coloring of like, the solar plexus chakra, the sacral chakra. That kind of energy is very strongly there. So that's good. But there's still sort of a reason why this is coming up. So what could be the warning or the challenge that the Dreamtime and the dream world is trying to show you? King of Swords reversed. The Emperor reversed. Oh, okay. Yeah, I think for a lot of you this is around work or something like that. Knight of Coins reversed. Four of Cups, okay. I think it's saying that the current situation is not sustainable. Like you couldn't be the emu with short legs forever. You couldn't be in a period of drought and burnout forever. And what's going on is that there are other parties associated with this. So this might be the ones who have kind of covered their faces a bit, that are not telling the truth, that want to control rather than collaborate. There could be, if this is around a relationship, there could have been a relationship that was just really not good energy, was really kind of controlling and dishonest, really. So I think understanding that energy is there. The warning is that if you stay in that emotional thing, then you're not going to be able to commit to bringing in what you want to bring in. So it's like, do you choose to be like the emus before they go to sleep thinking, oh, well, nothing's going to change. I'm in this system and this system is just against me. So, I'll just check out. Or do you choose to take your brilliance and move forward because you can achieve what you need to achieve? So I think that's a question for you, but I think your soul family is coming in to help you with that because you are meant to have harmony as well as being able to be yourself. So that's the really strong message. So let's get you a couple of mythical guides around this to see what their messages are for you. Angel, unity. Each of us are angels with only one wing and we can only fly by embracing one another. Yeah, so there's a sense of finding your people, your soul people, but you are an angel. The energy is of light. It's of flight, the phoenix, the angel. There's a sense of an angelic kind of energy around you to support you and to bring you to your galactic soul tribe. So you don't have to be alone for this. You don't have to handle all this alone. Either spiritually or I think, in terms of people around you. And Sobek, cycles, 3 grand essentials to happiness in life are something to do, to love, and something to hope for. Okay, so I think it's saying you're kind of on the something to do treadmill. But it's also like, who or what would you love? Bring that energy in. And there's nothing selfish about that. It's actually getting into balance. And then something to hope for. You need to find hope. Hope is meant to be coming for you. You are meant to sort this out. But there is a sense of that, and it's connecting to your galactic self and your galactic soul and to your calling that's going to do it. But you need all 3, and I think it's out of balance at the moment. So Sobek is there to try and get you to look at all 3. And the cycles. This is like the cycles. Cycles occur, even in a sense, the cycle of night and day. The dream world was what then allowed the emus to have the long legs. So you have to sort of go through this almost rite of passage within the dream world to come out on the other side and have all 3, not just endless work and dealing with demands. So let's have a look at some fortune energy around this because dreams are often prophetic in one way or another. So let's see what your dreams are saying on that level to you, pile 2. The moon again. There's something about the moon with you. We'll look at the moon in terms of moon cycles. You're probably very strongly connected to that. You will be guided through darkness, yeah. So you've got guidance, you've got your connection, trust in that. Things are going to come to light that allow you to find your people. And if you are in this oppressive situation that's really, really kind of burning you out, you're going to find the way through that. And the Knight, triumph over adversity, yeah. And, the night, that's, happiness in this life, something to do, the quest, something to love, the sort of the romantic love or the quest again, something to hope for, the outcome, finding the Holy Grail. You will find your way. This is saying it quite clearly. And then, if we use the Lenormand for another form of fortune energy, Garden, okay, other people, finding the right people, social activities, having a bit of fun. There's a number of energies to this. So the garden is, often where we come together in polite society. It might be in a party, it might be in a garden, it might be at a museum or at an art gallery or something. There's just this sense of coming together with those and finding those with common interests. So I think that there's a sense here of you're meant to kind of not be so working so hard that you can never have some fun. It's like connecting to people and socially, having a place that's a social place that's right for you. And bouquet, yeah, beautiful things will come in, and like garden, bouquet. Actually, it could literally be a call to be in gardens, to be in nature, all that kind of thing is a way to connect and a way to replenish. And again, if you go back to the promise of this, it was like, there was drought, but then the rains came and everything bloomed. So it's like it's a message coming on over and over. You're ready to move out of that cycle into something much better, which is really, really lovely. So I said in the introduction we were going to go back to the dream reading cards because they have oracle cards as well. So I'm going to get a card from that and a card from the psychic reading cards. Both of these are meant to be kind of signs, oracular signs that you can see to know that this blessing, because there's a very deep blessing here, is coming through for you. So we have leadership. You are no longer the supporting cast. You are the leading man, woman. Take the initiative and lead the way for others to follow. You will be judged by the company you keep and those you admire. So yeah, finding your people. And it could well be that you've been on the leadership path. Remember I said this could all be that, there's a lot of sort of money and all of that, but then it's like, are you with the right people? Are you doing what your heart wants to do? How do you take your leadership towards, so that you become the King of Wands? How do you take that to the right people and the right connections? Because if you're in a place that's wrong for you, it's always going to burn you out. And then a sign that you might see, a synchronistic sign. Rainbows. Again, be out in nature. When the rain comes, the rainbows come. It almost feels like, what I feel? Like I feel like there's a sort of a part of you where one of the best things you could do is just kind of find yourself a private place and just have a good cry. I just feel like there's a need to release energy here. I think you're just exhausted. But once you let that go, then you can let the new energy in. So that's very powerful. Now what we're going to do is we're going to look at the stars. We're going to use the astro dice. I'm going to roll them twice because it will give us a little bit more information about how this is playing out, what aspects of your life it's playing out in, and so forth. So we have Pluto, major change, the Phoenix rising in Pisces. So there's a sense of connectivity and connection to the galactic soul. In the 7th house, relationships. There's a lot of change around relationships. That's why this is all about changing the power dynamic in relationships. But Pisces connects you more to your true self and and it is very much the place of the dream world. So it's almost as though you're going to see symbolically the changes in relationships in your dreams before they come into being. And then we also have Aquarius in the 4th house, who you are, where you live, the sun. Okay. For some of you, I'm going to say something very, very sort of 3D. If some of this is about burnout, being in organisations, this could be a very strong sense of connecting to your soul, as we saw before, for the change, and then getting a bit of distance by maybe working at home. Like that's possible with the 4th house. Like that's a way that you get balance. So if that's possible for you and it's something you want to do, that's something to consider doing. Otherwise, what your home is and who your people are very, very important to this, but it is galactic. It's kind of with Aquarius, it's almost transpersonal. Your connections are beyond just the people that are literally around you. It's broader than that, which is probably why you're getting this energy. So it's finding the right people. And I don't think it always has to be in the 3D world, if that's the case. Okay. So to finish off, I'm just going to use the soul cards. Now, if you've seen me use these before on my channel, you'll know that there's no set meaning. I just say what I get from it. If you haven't seen it before, you'll see it's very deep imagery. It's very dreamlike, which is why I think it fits with a reading like this. And I would suggest, I'm going to tell you what I get from it in the context of the reading here, but I would suggest pausing the video and contemplating itself to see what it is saying to you, because ultimately how the dream world talks to you is very, very personal. So we get, wow. Okay. I feel like this person is sitting and contemplating the roots that are into the earth and what is connecting them to the earth. And remember, we've got the 10 of Pentacles. But sitting above it, so I feel like this is the galactic soul looking at the roots that you are establishing in earth. And I feel like the colouring, it's like blood in the veins, but it's like it's a little bit overheated or something. You need to sort of separate out and contemplate this. And I almost feel like there, if you really thought about it and looked at it, there would be areas of your life you've starved a bit and others that you've overfilled. So this is about balance, so that in a sense the blood kind of becomes more able to move and nourish equally. So it's like it's almost inviting you to think about, where have you not put your passion, where have you not put your attention, because it's there that the most prospect of growth and replenishment and so forth lies. But as I say, you take of this what you will. It may mean something else to you. It's very, very deep though. Very, very deep. Because I'm also thinking of almost like the tree of life and then the reverse tree of life as well, looking at this. I sort of think for some of you, like when you really look into this, it's like understanding what is nourishing your life and what is the exact opposite, like what is kind of like robbing you of life. So do think about that. There's a particular area, I think, that you could focus on that will reap great rewards for you. So I hope that resonates for you. I hope you enjoyed the reading. It's a little bit challenging, but I do think that really good things are coming through. You've just got to believe it. That's the main thing. So I hope that was enjoyable. If so, please like the video and subscribe. If you care to share in the comments, I'd love to hear. Otherwise, I hope to see you in future readings. Welcome, pile 3, to your reading. So you came to the reading with possessions. And as I said, it could be that you're dreaming about possessions, things you own, things you would like to own, things you would like to create, things you would like to manifest. Or your possessions could also, as I say, like typically a house can be actually a representation of yourself and that kind of thing. There could have been a sense of your dream world telling you about yourself through the prism of things. But that may not be why you came here. But it's really interesting. Like I'm often surprised by this. And I don't know why I'm surprised, but as I said, I didn't know what these cards were going to be. But sometimes it's so perfect that you're like, how does Spirit know to do this? How does Spirit do this? It's amazing. Anyway, in that the cards come together and it makes perfect sense, because this is all about a creative person. You are a creative person. If you're dreaming about possessions or possessions are coming up, it's what is yours? What are you creating, and how do you make that what you want it to be, and how do you connect it with others? So we've got 2 cards here that are from stories from the Dreamtime, First Nations people here in Australia, very spiritual culture. And then we've also got your 5D self talking to you about being a creative engineer. You have a creative intelligence capable of multiple solutions. So multiple possessions, multiple things, etc. But there's a kind of an impetus here about being re-inspired, I think, because the Earth Mother story is about time in a sense before the earth really existed and everything was very, very cold and dark. And there is an animal, I think it's an echidna, that goes up onto the surface and is trying to find warmth and finds this beautiful yellow flower and goes to sleep. And when they wake up, the yellow flowers become the sun and the world is suddenly glorious and fertile and warm. So there's a sense here about you are about to come out of a bit of a dark night of the soul around your creativity, I think, in this space, or around what you value and what you would like to see in the world and in your world. And you are the one who can create it, through your observation in a way, just like the animal observes the flower and that kind of then brings things to life. There's almost a kind of alchemical, or even it's almost a bit quantum physics-y actually, in the sort of concept of, like something is changed by observation. But there's something about your creativity and your creative energy that's going to bring warmth into your life and new hope into your life. And I think it's going to be also about connecting with people at the right time, because we have moon phases here. Now, that's a couple of things. Firstly, I would say anytime a card like that turns up, pay attention to the cycles of the moon. There's likely to be signs, and your dreams are particularly around particular times. So maybe around the new moon, like going within, the dreams going within, the waxing crescent moon, new intentions or whatever. Pay attention to what the different moon cycles mean, because whatever your dream is telling you at that time, it's probably connected to that. I think you're very connected to the moon. And, moon transits within your chart as well, if you know your astrology chart. But this story is a very specific story, and it's about a kangaroo and another animal, and I'm forgetting what it is, so I'm just going to check. It's an echidna, so it might be a different animal there. But anyway, it could be echidnas both times, I'm not sure. But anyway, so a kangaroo and echidna who meet up one night and they have this wonderful time and they get on like a house on fire. And so the next night the kangaroo turns up and there's no sign of his friend. He's thinking, where's his friend? And it takes a number of nights before he sees the echidna again. And he goes, we had such a wonderful time. Why weren't you here? And the echidna goes, I only come out at certain cycles of the moon. So I think this is saying there's certain times at which your connection of what you're doing can really flourish. And so if you are looking at creating, the kind of almost material and artistic world that you want, whatever that means to you, there's a sort of sense of, yes, you can dream it up and do it. There's no doubt about that. But you also then have to find the connection to others in some way and understand the cycles of that. So interesting. And I just think that's perfect. I think it's perfectly connected to dreams about possessions with a creative energy coming from your 5D self, that we're actually seeing both the act of creation and then the act of connection. So let's see what Tarot has to say. So we're going to ask firstly more about the dream messages. Then we're going to ask what's the gift in them. And then we're also going to ask what's the challenge or warning in them. So firstly, a bit more about the dream messages that are coming to you, pile 3. 3 of Cups. 7 of Cups. The Hanged One. 3 of Swords reversed. Justice. 7 of Coins reversed. Okay. I do think for most of you, there's something very creative about what you do as a vocation. Creativity takes many forms, so you don't have to be an artist or a singer or whatever. You could be. You don't have to be. But I think that there's something, there is a material outcome for this, and this is like possessions are very material. And why I say that is that I see that maybe there is a pain. There has been a kind of sense of being stuck. Like just like the kangaroo waiting for his friend, he had to be patient. And there's a pain to let go of, like the cold energy. This is right at the core of this. Something has probably frustrated you in terms of your creativity or creating the life that you want. You have the dream. You can taste it. You can taste what that would look like. And it's very emotionally resonant, but it's been stuck for some reason. And this is about having the right timing. And it's saying that you have to get the timing right, because if you rush into something like, a job contract or a contract around something creative or whatever, it may not realize its full investment until it hits the right time. You've got to have faith it's going to happen and it's going to bloom and be beautiful. And it will connect at the right time. But there's something, and I think it's very true of the creative person. The reality is that the difference, like many creative people have talent. There's no doubt about that. That almost goes with the territory. But those that sort of really have it succeed as a job for themselves or they get known, it's a combination of talent and timing, really. Some may say luck, but I think it's timing as much as anything else. And this is promising that the timing is there. You're meant to do something really, really good. And you've got lots of options and ways of doing it, but you do have to be a little bit patient and not rush into the first thing. It's like the right thing will come for you. Your dream is very achievable, but there's something about the timing around this. So let's see what the gift is of the message that you're getting. Like, for instance, I'm getting, if you were having a dream that people were taking something precious of yours, this is the sign that could happen if you went precipitously into a contract of some sort. So it just depends, to what degree that's coming up in dreams. So the gift of the dream message to you, pile 3, is Knight of Cups reversed, 6 of Coins reversed. Oh, okay. The Lovers. The Star reversed. The King of Wands reversed. Yeah, the gift is what appears to be the problem. The gift is the timing. Because this is saying that there's a block on some of the offers. If this is trying to look for sort of love and bring in the kind of life that you want and create that, or whether it's, as I say, a creative project or a career, the offers that would come precipitously are not truly of the heart and of your vision. You are meant to wait for the right connection where there is an equality. There's something here where if you if you move forward precipitously just because you got frustrated, you're going to always be of service to somebody else. You're always going to be second. You're always going to be the lesser than. You're always going to be relying on other people's money or whatever it is. There is a sense of finding the right connection that is an equal connection, and that's what Spirit is trying to kind of guide you towards. And it's saying that anything else, like if the ego gets involved in this and you push through, then you lose track of what you really could achieve. So there's some high stakes thing around this, and it feels really frustrated. It feels like I don't understand. Where are my people? Where is my response? Where is my manifestation? And I think the gift of this is saying that when you find the right people that see you as an equal and see your genius, that's when it's going to work. If you move forward too quickly, then to kind of appease a wish to just be seen or approved of or whatever, then you're going to be moving away from what you really could achieve here. So this is telling you that timing is working for you, not against you. So what's the warning associated with the dream energy? Nine of Wands, Ace of Coins, the Chariot, Page of Swords, reverse. It's the same thing. It's like it's saying it all the way through. It's saying that there is a warning that if you don't, there's two things that could go wrong with whatever this is. One is that you give up altogether. You go at the 12th hour, you go, no, it's just not going to work. I'll go and do something else. I won't be creative. I'll just take a quote unquote ordinary job or whatever it is. There is a risk associated with that, and it's right at the point where the real opportunity is just peeking up over the clouds here. It's coming into view. So there is a warning that you could get frustrated, or you could go into something precipitously and then find it isn't what you want, and you just go, I'm never going to get there, and you stop. So there's a warning around that. There's also a warning about going too quickly when things aren't clear. Like you're meant to do this. This energy is meant to come in, but there's a risk on one side of giving up, and there's a risk on the other side of like rushing into something where the terms are not clear. So this is all about getting the cycles right. When the warmth and the energy and the creativity and the opportunity is coming in, it will naturally occur. But if you're feeling rushed, or you're feeling like that's it, I can't go the last mile, then you lose your possessions, you lose your creative potential. So I think that you're all on a kind of a pivotal point about you're not far off this, but don't rush. Make sure that anything you go into feels right, not just kind of feels like, I've got to do something. And kind of trust, because this is saying that you are going to be able to do this, and your right connections are going to come through, but you can't control the timing of it. So that's interesting. So let's get you a couple of mythical creature guides around this, because it's just a balance of understanding the timing. So firstly, we have Bridget. Fertility, the cycle of fertility, the Mother Nature, is a cycle of creation that goes through birth, growth, maturity, death, and rebirth. Yeah, it's a cycle. Everything's about cycles. You've got to understand where you're in the cycle and have faith. And we have Werewolf, nature. Look deep into nature and you will see without rain, nothing grows. Learn to embrace the storms of your life. So if you are finding this frustrating, it may actually be meant to be a bit of an inspiration for you, but it's also, the rain comes, then there's growth. It's a sense of understand where you are in the cycle. Don't feel overwhelmed by it. All right, so let's see some fortune energy around this, because dreams are often a bit prophetic. So let's see with Madame Endora and with Lenormand, just a bit of fortune energy around the dream messages to you. The Sphinx, choose your words carefully. Yeah, I think this is also choose your companions carefully, choose your options carefully. It's almost a riddle at the moment. It's like it's so hanging in the balance. And I think Spirit wants you to know, you're going to be able to do this, but you just have to be really discerning and maybe be a little bit mysterious yourself. Maybe you need to almost riddle the people to see who who are the right ones to connect with, and so forth. And earth, utilize logic, reason, and common sense. Yeah, and earth it, ground. You're meant to bring something into being. You're creative. And it is, I think, meant to do very well. As I was saying, it's just it can only do really well at the right time. Okay, so then let's see what Lenormand wants to say. Bouquet, you're going to be successful. There's good things coming. Like it's saying over and over, don't doubt that. That's not the issue. And in fact, that's why the risk of this is you either go precipitously into something that won't take you as far as you could, or you give up just when it's going to happen. You've really got to have faith. And owls, yeah, there's lots of talk around, lots of people trying to kind of bring you out to their side. You may be in an environment where there's lots of discussion about, like it could even be like family or friends, like, what are you doing? What are you doing with your life? Blah, blah, blah. Like, don't let idle discussion get in the way, because you are meant to be successful here. You've just got to have faith and find the cycle and like get the timing right. So maybe to help with that, I said we'd return to the dream reading cards, and that's to look at an oracular message, and then we're also going to use the psychic reading cards for a synchronistic sign. So these are things to help you, I think, find the right timing, because that's the only ingredient you've got to kind of get right. You've got everything else. You are a creative person. What you're doing is quality in whatever way it is. Wow, renewal, rebirth. This came up for one of the other readings, so you might have gone to more than one. You are meant to rise out of this. You are. This is the phoenix. Creative, beautiful. And if there's been something that's felt really blocked and you almost walked away from it, or you even did walk away from it, maybe it's now time to reconsider it. It's ready for it to be reborn. And maybe a synchronistic sign that'll tell you the timing is starting to come into view. Epiphany. Okay, so this may just be having the coin dropping about this, you understanding, the light bulb going on. Could also be, you think about epiphanies in other stages of your life, or the inspiration that you had. What was the energy that was around that? If you feel that energy again, then that could be pointing you in that direction. Okay, we're also going to use the astro dice for some astrology energy. So this is to get a little bit more of an idea about how this is playing out, and maybe what aspects of your life in particular. So firstly, we have the 6th house. So this is about service to others, your routine and your daily work in some way. Sagittarius is around your philosophy, your creativity, your freedom. And Pluto, major change. And it's like that's Sagittarius with Pluto is a pretty good indication of the Phoenix rising. So there's something in what you're doing that will really serve other people, and I think will be transformative for other people. So this creative thing needs to happen. But it's going to happen in your day-to-day work in some way, or in your service to others. There's a liberation energy here, and that's why it's important, I think. And may also be saying that to truly have this, you need to think about what you're doing on your day-to-day work and liberate yourself from anything that is getting in the way of the creativity. And we also have the 10th house. Yeah, this is very much around career, material things. Aries being first, like the kind of the initiator. And we're looking at the North Node. So this is what you're really meant to be heading towards. You are meant to be first. You are meant to be creative. You are meant to be innovative, and it is meant to be seen in the world, and it is meant to be profitable. So it's saying that's the path you're on. But there's a thing about being Aries. There's a thing about being first. Often it's hard to know the times, because you might be clicking into a new cycle and a new time zone almost, or a new timeline, as they say, that kind of thing, because it's like it's new. So it's a little bit hard to know. So don't get impatient and don't try and rush it too much, because Aries can do that sometimes. You are meant to innovate, but you're also meant to be following your life path. And there will be a good outcome for this. In service to others in your day-to-day routines, you're going to create something that's more like a personal brand, more like a vocation, and that's going to be innovative, and that's what you're meant to do. So you are meant to create something. It is meant to be successful, but you need to kind of get the balance of time going. Okay, so last but not least, I just want to get you a card from the Soul Cards deck, just as a final image. So if you've seen me use this deck before, it's very, very profound dreamlike imagery. There's no set meaning for the cards, so I'm just going to tell you what I get in the context of this reading, but pause the video and contemplate it for yourself, because dream imagery works very much on a personal level, and it's really important that you you draw from it what it says to you. So we get, wow. Wow. So I think this is you. I mean, we see a figure here who, you know, with the beard and all that kind of thing, there's a sense of, there's a maturity to your approach. There's a skill to your approach, but there's a new fire, a new flame. This is the Aries sort of energy. And it's coming from you. See how it's coming from the fingers? It's coming direct from you. There's no intermediary. So there's a sense that your creativity is very true to you. And you're using it to see the way ahead. So I think this is sort of saying, that's the thing, go back to the first principles of what it was that you were trying to create, what is truly of you. And that's going to be the way that this works. It's interesting, I was listening to some music from Stephen Sondheim, a particular tribute to him the other day. And there's a particular song, and I'm not going to use the actual quote because, you know, copyright and all that sort of stuff, but there's a song in his musical Sundays in the Park with George, I think the musical is called. And it's about an artist. And the artist is wondering, you know, how can they do anything new? Can they do anything that's sort of like hasn't been done before? And there's another character who basically says if it comes from them, then it inevitably is something that hasn't been done before. And as I say, it's much more beautifully put in Sondheim's language, but, you know, I'm not going to, you know, breach copyright to say it, but really moving. Every time I see it, I cry. It's like a really moving piece of music, and the lyrics are extraordinary. But this is what I get about this. There's something that's very much you. This is why it's going to work. But it has to find the right time. So I hope that resonates for you. I hope that you enjoyed the reading. If so, please like the video and subscribe. If you care to share in the comments, I'd love to hear. Otherwise, I hope to see you in future readings.